What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of season 6 of the Underwater Fly Zone podcast. Today's episode is kind of a part 1 of 3, all right? So episode 2, 3, and 4 of season 6 all kind of go together. If you've ever been to one of my mental health events that I put on for schools, organizations, or if you've been to an El Dorado event, or if you've even just watched one of those events on YouTube, there's kind of 3 parts that I talk about at those events. The first part is acceptance. So today's episode is all about acceptance, how important it is to accept reality and get out of this denial state. That's what today's episode's about, and we're diving deep into it. Episode 3 of season 6 is going to be all about allowance, and then episode 4 will be all about the rebuild. So if you've been to one of my events, you already know I talk about 3 things: acceptance, because that truly is the first step. Acceptance, allowance, allowing your emotions. Don't block them, but allow them, right? So you got acceptance, you got allowance, and then after you've done all that, it's the rebuild. That's when you rebuild your life. And yeah, so that's what the next 3 episodes are about. Like I said, today's episode is all about acceptance, and I feel like I can't truly give you guys the full depth of this very important message without telling you guys my story. And honestly, I don't even want to call it my story anymore. I kind of want to call it just an experience that happened to me in my life. I don't want to be defined by this story, because the truth is, it's just something that happened to me. You know, I am not this story. It's not my story. It's just a story about an experience that happened to me in my life, right? So I want to tell you guys this story, but I'm going to do a very brief version of the story. If you want a full podcast hearing about the full story, I have done multiple episodes on this in the past. A lot of you guys have already heard this story a million times, but if you have never heard it and you want to hear the whole story in depth, there are multiple episodes that you can go back and listen to, such as episode 1 of season 3. I believe that episode was literally titled My Story. It was all about this story, 40 minutes of it. So you could go back to episode 1 of season 3, I think episode 7 of season 5, if I remember correctly. That might have been another one. And it just, I'm going to tell it right now, a very brief version of it. So one more thing I want to say is that if you've been to my events, you've heard me say this as well. I honestly hate telling this story. I don't want you to look at me and think of this story when you look at me, because this is not everything about my life. This is just an experience that played a very significant impact on my outlook of life. But, I'm trying to not say my story anymore, because it's truly just an experience that I went through. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, I don't want to harp too much on that, but let's get into it. I hate telling this story, but I'm going to tell it to you guys, because I feel like telling this story is so important if you truly want the depth and the importance of this message of acceptance. So let's take it away. Take you back to sophomore year of high school. I was a sophomore in high school. I was 16 years old. Yes, I was 16 years old. And it was April 24th, 2017 to be exact. And I'm sitting in my English class, just finished a test, had my head down. Summertime's coming up. I just got my first girlfriend. I was feeling good. You know what I'm saying? That girl was not Macy. That relationship, little sophomore in high school relationship, it didn't work out, thankfully, because, I never would have found Macy without that. You know what I'm saying? But I just had my first girlfriend. Summer's coming up. Just finished a test. My head's down. I'm feeling good. And then I look up and my Aunt Chrissy walks in the classroom. She walks in the class. She was the secretary. She worked in the front office. So when Aunt Chrissy shows up, everybody knows somebody's leaving. Somebody's going home. She looks at me and she says, "Foster, you're leaving." I said, "Man, this day just got even better. Say less. Peace out, y'all." I go walking my way out the room. And as we're walking down the hall, I immediately notice something is off. Something's off with my Aunt Chrissy. Something's not right. And I didn't know why I was getting called out of school. So I asked her, I said, "Aunt Chrissy, why am I leaving school? Like, what happened?" And she said, "Foster, it's not your family." And I said, "Not my family." Right when she said that, heart starts beating. I start getting nervous because, I'm getting called out of school for no reason. She's saying now that it's not my family. So I'm like, what the heck happened? Like, "Aunt Chrissy, if it's not my family, it can't be that big of a deal. What happened? Like, well, you got to tell me what happened." And she wouldn't tell me. But we got to the front of the school. She hugs me. She tells me she loves me. And I walk out the school to see my whole family standing outside. My mom's out there. My dad's out there. And my little brother's out there. Mom should be at work. Dad should be at work. My little brother should be at the middle school. I had no clue what they were going to tell me. I walked down to them, and what they told me changed my life forever. So there was this kid, right? This kid I looked at as a third brother. I have my blood brother, Carson, but this kid was like our third brother. The dude was over all the time. We were on the same wiffle ball team. We played little Hot Wheel games. Like we had this little racetrack. We'd play Hot Wheel tournaments and stuff. And man, it was like he really was our third brother. And I spent a lot of time with this kid, and I truly loved this kid. And I was with him, like I said, all the time. I was always with this guy, and we looked at him as our third brother. I think we all have that person in our life. Like, yeah, they're not technically related to us, but it's more than a friendship. You know, this kid was family, bro. And so when I walked out to school, walked down to my parents told me some news that changed my life forever. They told me Foster, Kyle, that was his name. I don't know if I said his name, but that was his name. Foster, Kyle, took his own life last night. Kyle passed away. He committed a permanent act, which was to take his life. And in that moment, my life changed forever. All right. This is not what the episode's about. But one thing I want to say is that when someone makes a decision to commit suicide, their suicidal thoughts don't go away. They just get passed to everybody that they love. So when I heard that news, I was just, it's like I died right there. I've said this in my speeches as well. If you guys have been to the events, you've heard me say this as well. The person who I was walking out of that school, that was his last steps because he died in that moment. When my parents told me that, Foster 1.0 was done. He passed away. And Foster 2.0 was born. And that's where we begin this message today of acceptance. You have to accept things as reality, because do you know what I did when my parents told me that? I tried to deny it. I tried to pretend that it was a dream. I did not want it to be real. I put something in my notes here that I want to read. Just when I was at the gym, I was thinking about what I wanted to say on this episode. And one thing I said was I didn't want to be going through this. I wanted to be playing football. I wanted to be watching sports, going on bike rides, playing games. But I couldn't do that because he was gone. And things will never be the same. I wrote that down because essentially that's what happened. I was like, I want life to just be normal. I don't want to be going through this. I was trying to deny that it was true because I didn't want to go through this. I didn't want it to be real, so I would deny. I would pretend that it wasn't real. I would convince myself that he was on a vacation in Jamaica and that he would come back one day and everything would go back to normal. I would feel like I was living in a dream, and I was just doing everything I could to not accept that it was real because I didn't want it to be real. I wanted to be watching sports. I wanted to be talking to my family about, Christmas. I wanted to be hanging out with Kyle, and I wanted to be doing stuff like normal. I didn't want this to happen. So I was trying to do everything that I could to make it not real. I was trying to deny it, push it away, everything I could to make it not real. And no matter what I did, it was there. It was real. And, the day he passed away, it was about a week until his funeral. Actually, it was less than a week. So it was the Monday that I found out. He passed away on the Sunday night. I was actually hanging out with him on Saturday. He came over. He was at our house, this house right here, and we were having a normal day, throwing the baseball around, went fishing, ate dinner together. I took him home, and I didn't know that was, when I took him home and dropped him off, I didn't know that would be the last time that I ever saw him. So I dropped him off, drove home. He forgot his fishing stuff in my car, so I had to drive back, drop his fishing stuff off, and I said, if you do that again, if you leave your stuff in my car again, we're going to have to fight, bro. And he said, bro, you don't want to fight me. And that was literally the last thing I ever said to him. And he walked up his driveway to his house, and I drove off. And to this day, as much as I wanted to deny and pretend it wasn't real, I haven't seen him since. It is the truth. It is reality. He is not here anymore, and that's something I really had to accept. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I want to go back to what I was saying, the little loop-de-loop. Let's loop back to what I was saying. It was the Monday that I found out he passed away. It was the Friday where his funeral was, and then Saturday he was buried. So that whole week leading up, man, I was really in this dreamy state. It was like life was just a dream that week. I didn't think anything was real. Like I went to school the next day. I found out on the Monday, went home, went up and played basketball with my friend Jackson, and spent time with my parents. My parents were really there for me. I feel like over the years when I've told this story, I don't think I've given them enough credit. So shout out to mom and dad. They were there for me. They were doing what they could as parents to be there for me because, it was my first time experiencing this. It was also their first time experiencing this. They didn't know, how to go about this. It was their first time, going through that. And sometimes we forget as kids that our parents are living this life for the first time as well. And, they couldn't have done a better job being there for me, truthfully. They were there for me that whole week, but it truly felt like a dream that whole week. My parents, they said, we should do something. And me and my brother wanted to do something. So we made these bracelets, right? There's actually one on this mic right here. Oops. I don't want to do all the hard work to show you guys this mic, but if you see my normal mic, one of the bracelets is on there. Shout out to my homie from Maryville that made me these bracelets on this mic, but on that mic was one of the bracelets that we made for Kyle that week. They said KLies7, little hashtag we made for him. KLies, Kyle Lizer, that's like his nickname, KLies, and then his wiffle ball number was 7. So KLies7, we made that little hashtag up, and then on the other side it said Fly High Kyle. We were giving these bracelets out, and my parents were there for me through that, man. Shout out to mom and dad for real. But yeah, that week felt like a dream, and nothing felt real. I felt like I was gonna wake up at any moment and all that was gonna be a dream. I truly felt that way. Like, I feel like you could say stuff like this just for the theatrics of telling a story. No, guys, this is so real. Like, I literally did not think I was awake. I thought it was a dream. And what snapped me into reality was whenever we were at his funeral and I see the casket, I see his parents, and then the next day they, grateful for this, they asked me to carry the casket at his funeral. Grateful for that, but that really snapped me into reality whenever I was carrying the casket, just thinking, he's in there, bro. Like, he is in there right now, and I'm carrying him to his burial site. And that's when I was like, this is not a dream. This is reality. This is real. And just because I knew it was real doesn't mean I wanted to accept that it was real. So I knew it was real. I knew that we had buried him. I cried so hard at that funeral. And, the funeral ended. We went home, and then life went back, quote unquote, back to normal, but nothing was normal, dude. Like I said earlier, those suicidal thoughts were passed to me. I was going through depression. I was going through very hard times. I was becoming careless. I didn't care as much about life, I guess you could say. Like, I always knew I would never take my own life, right? Like, I knew I wouldn't. Like, I guarantee to anybody listening, like, that was never a possibility in my life. I never was going to do that. But I did just not really care about anything. Like I would go on a drive and like driving to school, and I would just be like, I don't care. I remember one specific memory I want to share, and this is something that it's one of those things in my life that I did that, like, sometimes whenever the devil's trying to make me feel shame about myself, he'll bring this up in my mind, and it's something that I've never told anyone, but I'll tell you guys because I love you guys and I appreciate you listening to this. I remember I played tennis in high school. I was at a tennis tournament over the summer, and this is just one example of me not caring about anything. I remember we were playing, and me and my partner were on this court, and next to us a different game was going on, and I hit the ball, and I kind of went on like near their court a little bit after I hit my ball, and I hit a horrible shot. So our game was paused because we had to reserve and all that. But this game's going on. They're volleying, and the ball came kind of near me, and I just smacked it. Like, in the middle of their game, another game going on next to us, I was kind of near their court, and the ball was in my reach, and I just smacked it. And they were all like, what the heck, dude? Like, what are you doing? And to me, they didn't know this, but like I said, I didn't care. Like, I didn't care that they had a game going on. Like, I was so broken and so depressed that I smacked the ball, and I was like, I didn't even apologize. I was like, oh, yeah. I think I probably said my bad, but I didn't mean it, And that just shows how careless I was. Like, that, thinking back to that moment, I have such shame about that because that's such a low life, stupid thing to do. Like, I just am mad that I did that, Just, I regret doing that. It's just so stupid, like, so disrespectful. These dudes are playing a game, and I'm so careless that I just smacked the ball and ruined their game. Like, I don't know, dude. It's just one of those things that eats at you, bro. Like, it's not that deep, but it is that deep, like I actually get a little emotional thinking about that moment just because that's where I was at in my life. I didn't care about anything. Like, oh, I have a test coming up. You get that test anxiety. Like when I finally got to a point where I started feeling that test anxiety again, I was like, bet, dude. Like I feel something again. I was numb, dude. I was numb to test anxiety. I didn't care if I had a test coming up. I didn't care at all. Granted, I still did good. I was actually pretty good in school, no lie. I worked hard. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I worked hard to get good grades. But I didn't care, though. Like, I was numb, bro. Like, for real, I was numb. And that lasted pretty much my whole junior year of high school. I would go to school. I would put my headphones in, my little AirPods, or they weren't AirPods. I never had AirPods. I always had the cords. The headphones, the earbuds with the cords, I put those in. I put my hood up. And there were days I'd go to school. I wouldn't even talk to anybody. I would just walk the halls and not talk to anybody. Like I said, I didn't care to make friends. I had my boys back home, and I had the girlfriend still, and I feel bad. That's another regret I have in my life. I feel like I dumped a lot of my problems onto her. So if she somehow is watching, I do apologize for doing that. And that's a whole nother conversation, but I don't think that's smart, to dump your problems on someone. Looking back, it's like, dude, I should have not done that. I should have went and got help. And I know my mom's probably watching this saying, "No, Foster, I told you to go to counseling that whole time." Yeah, Mom, you were right. I probably should have, because I do feel guilty about taking my problems to people that, weren't qualified to help. And I probably made their life harder as well. I was probably a burden on their life. And yeah, dude, anyways, I just was going through it, and the whole time I was refusing to accept this as reality. And just because I'm paranoid right now that camera's not working, I'm going to take a break, but that's where that's where that part of the story ends. Enough about me. Let's talk about acceptance now. I'm going to check this camera real quick, and then we're going to continue. All right, we back. Sorry, I was a little paranoid because I have a lot to say. I'm about to start cooking, y'all. I'm about to start cooking. Like, we're about to start stirring the pot right here. It's about to get hot. And if that camera was not working, I was going to be very upset. So I had to check. Actually, I'm going to check one. Yeah, we're good, y'all. We're good. We're rolling. I can't tell you how many times I've done an episode and was saying such great things, and then I go to turn the camera off and it had been turned off the whole time. So, I had to check. But yeah, so that was where I was at in my life. I was just being careless. I was being disrespectful, and I was being thoughtless. Like nowadays, I critically think about everything. Back then, I did not. And yeah, I was young, and I was going through a very, very difficult time in my life. But I still did not critically think anything. Like these days, I would have critically thought and been like, okay, I'm not going to go dump my problems on somebody that is not qualified. I would never do that to somebody. But back then, I didn't think that deeply about it. I was like, oh, I need somebody there for me, and this and that. Dude, it was the worst version of myself. Let's just say that. Foster 2.0 was the worst version of myself. I was just not good. But, I finally got to a point where I said, you know what? I have been wasting a year of my life. Like, I have not been taking life seriously. I've just gone through the days, just, let this pain in my life destroy other people's. It's like that pain was passed to me, and now I'm multiplying it to others. Like I realized that this sucks. The way I've been living sucks, and I need to make a change. And I thought about, what's the first step? How do I make this change? And that's when I realized, I've been denying this as reality the whole time. I didn't want it to be real, so I was denying and pretending that it wasn't, all while I was releasing this pain in very unhealthy ways. And I had to get to a point where I could finally start to heal, because I had done no healing in a whole year. I mean, this has affected me for a whole year. I've done no healing. I've just been very destructive and careless. So I had to make the decision to accept this as reality. And it was so hard to do because I did not want to accept it to be real. There's this song called Jocelyn Flores by XXXTentacion. And in the song it says, I be feeling pain just to hold on. that's where I was at. I didn't want to accept it because I felt like if I accepted that this was real, it was basically me letting go of Kyle, letting go and saying goodbye. I didn't want to say goodbye. I wasn't ready to say goodbye. I wasn't ready to accept this as reality. I didn't want it to be real. So I instead would put myself through torture, essentially, and put other people through torture at the same time because I refused to accept that it was real. But I got to a point where I said, you know what, enough's enough. I have to take my life back. I have to rebuild my life. And like I said, that's episode 4 is the rebuild. I'm not going to talk about the rebuild, but the rebuild and the allowance and all the healing starts with accepting that it is reality. You can't begin to move forward until you acknowledge what the starting line is. And that starting line is acceptance. And gosh, I want to think of some advice on how I went through acceptance. I might need a second. But one more thing I wanted to say before we get into how to accept is another reason why you should accept. One thing in my life, I didn't believe that bad things were supposed to happen. Like, this happened to me, and I really had never dealt with anything hard in my life up to this. The hardest thing I had dealt with was my dog passing away. Rest in peace, Charlie. My dog passed away. That was the hardest thing I had been through in my life up until this point. So I didn't believe bad things were supposed to happen. But the truth is that we are not in heaven right now. If anyone was unaware, we're not in heaven right now. We're actually here on earth where good and evil both exist. You got God at work, but the devil is also at work down here. In heaven, it's a place of perfection. It's a place of perfect peace. You're with Jesus. Everything's good up in heaven, but down here, there's good and evil at play. So the truth is that we all will go through hard things in life. The hard truth is that either you're going to pass away or someone you love is going to pass away first. Either way, we're going to go through something hard. We're either going to lose somebody that we love or we might be the ones to go first. So there is a bad day coming, ladies and gentlemen. There is a bad day coming for all of us. There is a truly hard, bad day. As we heard in the last episode, on episode 1, my friend Connor talked about how one day we're hanging out, having a normal time. The next day, his cancer comes back and he's in the hospital for a year of his life. Things can happen so instantly. A bad day is coming for us. So we have to appreciate this day. We have to appreciate the day. We have to, make the most of each moment and truly embrace the time that God has given us in this moment, because there is another moment coming that will be a very tough moment. And we just have to accept that as reality. Has anybody watching this video, has any of y'all ever been whitewater rafting? I want to give credit to my lady, Heather Palmer, for giving me this analogy. Has any of y'all ever been whitewater rafting? Drop a comment if you've ever been whitewater rafting and tell me where you went, because I personally have never gone. So it's kind of crazy that I'm even about to use this analogy, but drop a comment if you've been whitewater rafting. Tell me where you went so that, maybe I could take a trip one of these days. But I got a question for y'all. One thing I know about whitewater rafting is that nobody gets on the raft expecting not to get splashed. You know what I'm saying? If you get on the whitewater raft, you're not getting on there expecting to stay dry. You're going to get wet. You're going to get splashed. It's the way it is. It's part of the experience. It's part of the journey. That's just how this life is. That is just how this life is. We need to understand that if you are living right now, you need to expect to get splashed. Bad things will happen in this life. There's truthfully no way around it. But it's just part of the experience. It's just part of the journey. You need to embrace these bad times, because these bad times are truthfully and truly what are growing you into the person that you will one day become. These experiences that you go through build you into a stronger person. Pain is progress. These are things that I started to learn when it was time to stop moping, stop dwelling, stop denying, and start growing, start rebuilding, start changing my life. I had to realize that this pain that I've been through, this thing that I have been through is actually, it gives me the possibility to turn it for good. God wants to turn your pain into his purpose. God gives you purpose through your pain. And that's what I realized. God gave me this story. God allowed me to go through this. He knew I was strong enough to go through this. And he wants to use this story in my life for his good. And the longer I sit here and deny it, the longer I sit here and, mope about it, spread negativity about it, be a bitter person about it, the longer I do that, the longer I'm prolonging, not only am I prolonging my healing, but I'm prolonging God's purpose for my life. You know what I'm saying? The longer I sat there and dwelled on it, the longer I just had such a negative aspect to it. I don't even know what to say. I was living so negatively, and I was not, like I said, I was the worst version of myself. And the longer I did that, the longer I was prolonging, like I said, not only my healing, but God wanted to do so much with the story that I have been through. God can turn your graves into gardens, ladies and gentlemen. Look that song up. If you don't know that song, you got to know that song. Graves into Gardens, one of my favorite Christian songs. God can use your graves and turn it into gardens. The dead places in your life, the place of death, destruction in your story, God can use that exact spot for his glory. And not only can he will, but it's on you in a way. It's on you to accept the reality, to stop denying, to stop moping, to stop feeding into it in a negative way and start embracing it in a positive way. You know, I just also want to tell you guys that this step does come to an end. Acceptance was so hard for me, but eventually I was able to accept. And that's when I was able to move forward onto the allowance part, which it doesn't get any easier with allowance. Let me tell you guys, we got another tough episode coming, all right? We got another tough one coming, but after that, it does get better. Obviously, I'm here right now, and I would say that I'm actually the best version of myself now. So I'm telling you guys, I tell you guys this story not for you to feel bad for me. Don't feel bad for me at all. I've been through that, and I'm here now, and I'm good. I tell you that story because I want you guys to see that I was once really depressed. I was once really broken. I was once really careless. I was once a very not fun person to be around. But God has taken that version of me and flipped it. And now we're here impacting people, speaking at schools, you know, doing podcast episodes, passing out, selling a ton of shirts, hoodies, and making a truthful, positive impact. So I just want you guys to find some hope in that. I hope somebody found some hope in that today. But yeah, acceptance truly is the first step. Let's get back to the topic. I just want to end this off by really hitting on the importance of acceptance. You cannot begin to heal until you've first accepted the reality. You know, I was pushing it off. I was feeling pain just to hold on to Kyle. I didn't want to let go, and I was pushing off acceptance. I just kept denying. I didn't want it to be real. Once I finally accepted, that's when I finally began to allow myself to feel. And once I felt, I was able to rebuild my life. But it all started with acceptance, guys. Acceptance is the first step. I can't hit on that enough. If you're going through something in your life right now, acceptance is the first step. And you begin to accept when you begin to realize that bad things will happen. Pain is actually progress. If you feel pain, like it's just like the gym. If you're feeling pain in your arms, I hit bi and back today. My biceps are killing me right now, but I know they're growing because pain is progress. The more pain you feel, the stronger you become. That's just how your mental health is. That's just how your healing journey is. The more pain you feel, the stronger you are becoming. Realize that, guys, because I was pushing feeling the pain off. I didn't want to feel the pain. I did not want to allow myself to feel. I did not want to feel the pain. I wanted to deny and prolong it. And because I was doing that, I wasted a whole year of my life. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to talk so down, like I don't want to talk so much down on my 17-year-old self, you know, the junior year of high school version of myself, because the truth is I was young and I went through something that was very hard. I did go through something that was incredibly tough. Losing my best friend, having a guy that you were with, having someone that you were with every single day and that you loved so much, just blindsided, be taken out of your life. Not only that, but you feel some type of way whenever they went out on their own regard, if that makes sense. You know, there was a lot that I was going through and I was not ready for it at all. So I don't want to like beat that version of myself up, but I just want to tell you guys that version of myself lasted longer than it needed to. Just know that lasted longer than it needed to. It really did. It was going to be a thing for a while. It's the way it is. You're not going to heal overnight. It's not an overnight thing at all. This is a very long process. Acceptance isn't something that you wake up one day and boom, you've accepted and now you're on to the next step. No, this is a very long process. Like, don't think that this stuff happens overnight. I wish I said this earlier because I hope nobody X'd out of this episode before I said this. It is not an overnight thing. It takes a while, but it does come to an end. It does come to an end, but it can't come to an end unless it begins. You know what I'm saying? So it needs to start. You guys need to accept reality. Don't live in denial, guys. That version of myself, like I said, I don't want to beat that version of myself up too bad, but that version of myself lasted way longer than it needed to. Way longer than it needed to. So just know, guys, that if any of you need help with acceptance, if any of you need somebody to be there for you, I feel comfortable being that person to be there for you. So reach out to me. I can't promise that I'm going to be able to, be on a 2-hour-long phone call every single day, but I could definitely be there for you in a way of checking in once a week, once every couple weeks, putting you in contact with people that could also be there for you. I have a desire to start a group chat of people that are trying to heal. So if there's anybody out there that need help with this, please reach out. We could start a little group chat and find out a way to, put you in a community of people that can help. It's so much easier to go through this when you're going through it with people. I'm grateful for all of my friends that were there for me when I was going through this, because if it wasn't for them, it probably would have taken even longer for me to get through it. It's so hard to go through things alone. So if you need community, if you need people to be there for you through this, feel free to reach out. I'm really trying to start something like that. And guys, I just want to say that I do love each and every single one of you. This is not easy, but it is worth it. And it is so important. And you are strong enough to get through it. Don't think that you're not strong enough to get through it. You are definitely strong enough to get through it. And at the times you feel weak, reach out. At the times you feel weak, you don't even have to reach out. Reach out to your parents. Reach out to your friends. Reach out. Let's take it back. Let's really reach out to our parents, guys. I should have done that more. Definitely should have did that more. I'll talk about more about that in the next episode. But yeah, guys, don't be like me. Don't keep it a secret, because I really did keep it a secret in a lot of ways, and that's part of the reason it lasted so long. So, like I said, acceptance is the first step. You have to accept reality. We can't be living in a lie. We can't keep trying to convince ourselves that something. We can't keep trying. Let me say this right. We can't keep trying to convince ourselves that something is real when we know for a fact that it's not. I tried for so long to convince myself that Kyle would be coming back from a vacation in Jamaica and that this was all going to be some big prank. Guys, it's been almost 8 years. I have not seen him since April 22nd, 2017. It's the reality, and I had to accept that. You cannot begin to heal until you accept reality, and I know it's so hard. But the hard things are what grow us. The pain we feel progresses us. The pain we feel grows us, and you are strong enough to get through this step of the healing journey. You are capable of accepting. Don't let the enemy tell you that you're not, because I promise you, you are. And like I said, I love you guys. Love you guys. Acceptance is so important, y'all. I think that's all I got today, for real. I'm pretty proud of that episode, honestly. I think I was vulnerable enough, but not too vulnerable. Hope I wasn't too vulnerable. You guys, honestly, people don't need to know all my business. You know what I'm saying? But I share it not because I want anyone to know. Honestly, I didn't want anyone to know about some of the stuff I said on this episode. And I haven't let anybody know about a lot of the stuff I said on this episode until right now, But I think sharing this stuff really is impactful, and that's why I do it. That's why I do it, bro. That's why I do it. I don't do this for you guys to feel sorry for me. Please don't feel sorry for me, because the truth is, and you'll hear about this in the next coming episodes, Foster 2.0 is no longer around, I'm on a whole different version of myself now. So don't feel bad for me, guys. I'm not grateful at all, because I wish Kyle was still here today, but I am. That experience formed me into who I am today, and I'm at peace with that. That's the perfect way to put it. I'm at peace with it, bro. I'm at peace with it. So don't feel bad for me. Just let me know if you guys need anything, and send this to somebody that needs it. I do want to do a challenge. Let's end this off there. I want to do a challenge this week, but I need a second to think about it. So give me a second. All right, I think I got it. Challenge of the week. Just because you may not have something as drastic that you're going through, maybe you haven't lost anybody that you love recently. Maybe you've healed from all your past major traumas, but I can almost guarantee there's something in your life right now that you are denying that you need to accept. Because as I sit here, it's so easy to talk about the time that I really, really dealt with having to accept something. You know, I really, really had a tough time accepting that Kyle passed away. But there are multiple other times in my life that I had to accept hard things as reality. Things that I did not want to accept, I had to accept more times than just once in my life. For example, when I was president of my fraternity, I dealt with a lot of backlash for decisions that I would make because I am not necessarily the party guy. You know, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm 24 going on 25. I've never drank alcohol in my life, never hit a vape, never smoked, never did none of that. So I had a different outlook on how a fraternity should be ran than some of my brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the people in my fraternity didn't agree with the way I saw things. And that was hard for me to accept some of the backlash I got for some of the decisions that I made. And I also am the type of guy that I'm going to do what's right regardless of how uncomfortable it is. Like this dude called the cops on another fraternity and got their party busted up just to be, you know, he was just being a jerk, honestly. No shade if he's watching right now. Love you, bro. And you know I love you. But you also know you were wrong for that. And I ended up basically kicking him out of the fraternity for it. Some people thought it was harsh, but I'm not going for any type of pettiness. You know what I'm saying? That was not something that I was about, and I'm also not afraid to make a decision. So I made that decision, and then I also told our guys, I was like, hey, we need to go into their next meeting and apologize. And everyone's like, what? Like a couple people were with it, but some people were like, holy, you want us to go in front of the dudes we just called the cops on? Like a dude in our fraternity just called the cops on them. They were already our rival fraternity. There was already a lot of tension, but the whole calling the cops on them situation elevated the tension to like a whole new level. And I said, we need to go do what's right. We need to go apologize to them at their next meeting. So the guys were like, holy crap, you want to do that? So I texted our group chat and I said, hey guys, we're doing this. Like next meeting, we're going in there and we're doing it. So we show up. At the time, it was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever done in my life. Besides like most uncomfortable outgoing thing I ever did in my life. There were a lot of other uncomfortable things. Like anyways, this was very uncomfortable going in there, but we did it and there was a lot of good that came from it. You know, the tension kind of went away because we were able to go in and explain ourselves and show them that was not our true intentions. And things turned out for the good because we did that. But I had to accept the fact that I was going to get a lot of backlash. Some people were like, we should show no mercy. Who cares that we did it? I was like, I care, and that's not the way I am. You know what I'm saying? So I had to accept that I was going to experience backlash. And I had to allow myself to process that. And then I had to rebuild my mindset and say, you know what? I'm going to embrace the BS. You know what I'm saying? So I want you guys to take some time to really think about your life and think about a situation that you're in right now that you need to accept as reality. You know what I'm saying? You need to accept that you have a guy at work that drives you crazy. You need to accept that, and you need to allow yourself to process that. And then you need to find a way forward. You know what I'm saying? But you can never find a way forward through a problem until you've accepted and acknowledged that the problem exists. So take some time to reflect on your life and find a area in your life that you are pushing away, trying to pretend it's not real. You're trying to pretend that you don't have a problem with that guy at work. You're trying to pretend that problem doesn't exist. But the truth is, we both know it freaking exists. You know, it drives you crazy. So take some time to accept and acknowledge that as reality and allow yourself to start rebuilding and start processing that and start finding a way forward. Take some time to do that and drop a comment whenever you do. Let's check in. Come on, guys. Check in with the challenges. We're not doing this. I'm not trying to do a challenge and have no feedback. You know what I'm saying? So drop a comment on the video. Be vulnerable yourself. What's the area that you need to accept in your life? And let's be vulnerable. Let's come together as a community and let's really shine some light in this world through a comment section. You know, let's find some community in this. That's why I do this, guys. I don't do this for any other reason but to help you guys out. You know what I'm saying? I hope this episode helped one person out. Hopefully we could drop some comments and really start to grow together, guys, because that's what this season's about. Growth. Can't grow until you accept. Hope we got that. If not, sure, I'll talk about this again someday. I truly, truly love each and every single one of you guys, and I'm excited for episode 3, which is part 2 of today's podcast, the allowance episode. Love you guys. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you next week on episode 3 of season 6, Allowance. Peace out.